Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Miles, and this is XRAISED, where knowledge meets inspiration in the intricate dance of industry evolution. If you're building, growing, or rethinking how you work, you're in the right place. I'm assuming you already know Laina Chan. She's become a familiar voice here in our podcast, one of those people who makes you think differently every time she speaks. Lena is an award winning barrister and the founder and CEO of MiAI Law, a legal research platform built for lawyers who want clarity and evidence backed answers without cutting corners. Joining her today is Hollia Lam, and this is her very first time on X-Raised. Hollia is a director and the principal solicitor at Lamco, practicing across multiple areas of law and jurisdictions and doing a lot of that work independently and remotely. She brings a very real, live perspective of what modern legal practice actually looks like on the ground. So today's conversation isn't about what AI is. We're going to explore how lawyers actually think, work, and stay sane in complex environments, and what changes when the right tools are in place. Hi, Lena. Hello, Halya. How are you?
Hi, Hollia.
Hi,
Joining us, Hollia.
Yes, it's
no
great to
worries.
have you both.
Happy to
And
be here.
yeah, so there's a lot of curiosity around the way you approach this space, and I think the audience will really appreciate hearing how it all comes together. So, my first question is for Halia. You practice across multiple areas of law and jurisdictions, which is no small mental load, I'm sure. So, could you tell us your secret? How do you personally manage that without losing focus or burning out?
Yes, I mean, in a way, I'm quite used to practicing multiple areas and jurisdiction because when I was working in Hong Kong, I worked for this offshore firm that we do Cayman Island, BVI, and Bermuda law. But yeah, not going to lie, it's a lot of stress and different law that you need to know and get your head around and be on your toes all the time. So, having one system sometimes is not enough. And now system for me is about, implementing the right tool within the system. So I manage the mental load in, well, I guess two different way. One is personally and one's professional. On a personal level, I recently decided that I want to become a triathlete. So exercising become essential for
Wow.
me. I guess it's
Okay.
not about fitness, it's about resetting my head. So
Uh-huh.
every training session gives my brain somewhere to go. And that actually really helps me staying focused and avoid burnout. Professionally, before tools like MiAI, my strategy was to surround myself with really competent lawyers, people who are experienced in the field, people I can trust and felt comfortable asking questions. Like Lena, she still is my mentor since uni days, which was, over 10 years ago. Can you believe that?
Right.
I mean, I hope I'm her proud and shy. When you when you work across multiple areas and jurisdiction, that ability to check your understanding on, the legal principle and cases is crucial. Since using MIAI, that process has changed. Instead of interrupting another lawyer's day, I can actually just ask as many questions as I want at any time I want, even during hours when I cannot sleep at night or, basically, and anytime, whenever I have a question pops up in my head,
Mhm.
I can interrogate it, an issue deeply in my own time without feeling like, okay, is this too much of a low level questions to ask a award-winning barrister, even though I know, she's going to be okay in answering me questions, but I rather connect with her in a deeper and more meaningful ways, like, how do you get motivated to get where you are? Like, back in the days, I feel like, if I can only ask legal questions to other lawyers, I won't be able to connect with people deeply because there's just no time. I need to, ask the actual question to do the work.
Yeah, even if she's in Cayman Islands, you can ask MiAI Law.
Yeah.
But I love that you separated, or you still separate, the personal and the professional side of it, because that's something people didn't or don't talk about enough. I have to also touch on a bit on the idea that you mentioned, that mental clarity doesn't just come from better systems, but from how you look after your head and your body. I mean, that's a good one, especially for anyone running a solo or lean practice, right? And now, Laina, let's go to you. When you hear about what Hollia is talking about, working across jurisdictions like that, how does it challenge the way people assume legal research tools should be designed or used?
So typically, when I mean, I've been a lawyer for a long time, longer than the 10 years. And so I've always paid for LexisNexis or Westlaw as subscriptions, but the subscriptions have always been split, right? So when you subscribe to LexisNexis or Westlaw, you get the Australian subscription. And then if you want to get access to the international products, it's a different subscription, right? It's Westlaw International and this LexisNexis, the international products. You can't search across the product. So if you LexisNexis or Westlaw, you use the Australian product, you access the Australian materials. How we're designing it differently is that we're doing it at the moment. We've got Australian law. We've started working on our US law capabilities, but we're allowing our users to research across jurisdictions. You just have to tick the boxes of the jurisdictions that you want to search across. And so I think that's the major difference, because we're not siloing our product. We're allowing or recognizing the fact that if you work in international arbitration, for example, you need access to more than one jurisdiction. You need to know if, the seat of the arbitration, you need to know the law there, you need to know the procedural laws there, and then whatever the proper law of the contract is that you are fighting over, then you need to know that law as well. And I think it's much more efficient and practical for lawyers to be able to access a research product that allows you to search over multiple jurisdictions. I mean, I have a matter now, which I've mentioned before, where we have to worry about Australian law and Spanish law. I mean, we currently don't have Spanish law, but we know that down the track, because I believe, and I'll be able to prove it soon, that we have actually been able to reduce law to a system. And so once we deliver the US product, I think that will be proof that all the algorithms that I've prepared for Australia also work for the USA, subject to me also entering into the code, the particular idiosyncrasies about US law, the US court hierarchy, etc. We have to code all that in, but otherwise the algorithms work generally because we're dealing with a common law system. But what's really exciting is we have really locked down our legislation research feature, whereas in the beginning we required our users to name the particular piece of legislation that they wanted research. You no longer need to do that. You can ask questions about law that's governed by legislation. You don't have to know the particular piece of legislation that governs the law, and we're able to identify the correct pieces of legislation, read the pieces of legislation, and then give you the answer and extract the relevant sections and construe it all, which is really the baseline for us being able to do civil law. So slowly by slowly, we're intending to cover not just Australia, US, etc. We'll keep expanding the what is available for our users, and in that way, I think it will make multi-jurisdiction law much more accessible, because I've heard from lawyers from tier one firms, etc. They say that when you are doing multi-jurisdictional work, you need to have a lawyer in every single country. Right? Hollia, you need to do that, right? But I mean, you might still need a lawyer in every single country, but at least your own baseline knowledge will be raised, because you can interrogate MiAI Law to give you some kind of baseline understanding about the law in different jurisdictions.
And that's a very useful reframe. I would say the tools shouldn't just deliver answers, but help lawyers to not only search, as you said, search multiple jurisdictions with your features, but also interrogate their own thinking. And for me, from a business perspective, that's a very different value proposition than, just faster research. And Hollia, you previously mentioned that you work largely from home and you're very comfortable with tech. So has using MyAI Law changed how you structure your day or how you stay focused when you're working solo?
Yeah, it's definitely changed how I structure my day. I mean, it, before MIAI law rolled out, I was kind of actively looking to hire a junior lawyer to help me with things like checking legal principle, researching case law, and verifying findings. Once MIAI came into my workflow, I actually scraped that plan entirely just because, I mean, I just feel like I don't need a junior lawyer anymore because it's just so fast that and I don't need to deal with the Fair Work Act and it's just I realized I didn't need to hire anyone at that stage. I just need to polish my system, implement the right tool, um, just embrace all the technology that is available. For example, I dedicate like at least 15 minutes a day just to learn what tools are out there, just to be up to date, just so that I know what's on the market, what's going on. Because if you don't move forward, you'll only fall backwards, right? And honestly, I was quite happy about not needing to hire a junior lawyer anymore. Not just from a cost perspective, but it's just the employment compliance and obligations in Australia is just so much. While running a solo practice is already stressful enough, I need to answer questions, I need to, nurture clients, and staying focused as a lawyer can mean very different things. So, I feel like I can stay focused a lot more, whether it is on the technical work or the research or, nurturing client. Um, MI together with other tools like Copilot and workflow automation that I've got, just has freed up a huge block of my time. I was telling Lena the other day, the whole January, I was basically just told myself to slow down. It's okay, I've got a whole year ahead. I'm gonna like clean up my process, polish my system, and by February, I'm gonna run like just so smoothly that without the need of worrying. And I just feel more present in conversation with, clients and colleagues, and ultimately just more confident as a lawyer because, when I give advice, I know that I can just quickly go pinpoint the reasoning behind it. It's just so good. It's a lawyer dream come true.
Wow. Well, let's quote you on that, Hollia.
I think Hollia should also mention she had been actively interviewing and advertising, right, to fill the position of the junior lawyer. But I thought you said that the candidates that you were getting were not quite what you had hoped for. And isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean, I work hard, so I mean, I'm sorry that I also expect people to work as hard as me, but it's actually not allowed in the Fair Work Act to text people after work hours. And I can interrogate my AI, like they're not gonna find me on that. I love that. It's good. And like no offense to junior lawyers, but there's just so much that I guess maybe I would expect. And ideally, now that I'm looking at it, I would still want to hire someone, but I would want to hire someone who has a technology background, maybe IT background, like who can tell me like, hey, I think you can improve your workflow by doing this. And within this, I know how to do my research properly because I know there's this legal research AI tool out there. Like I want them to come back to me with this because I know they don't have the experience. I was a junior once. You
Mhm.
you don't get work experience when you're first year out. I don't expect that.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting to know. And it must be tough for you as well. I mean, as you said, no offense to other, to junior lawyers, but if you have AI tools like MyAI Law, and it makes as you said, it polishes your system, that shift from doing more to being more present, especially with clients. That's a great feature already. I mean, great benefit. And I also heard, Hollia, you're subscribed or you did subscribe. I don't know right now, but with other AI tools. So I've been meaning to ask you, what's the big difference, if you think there is, between my AI law and others? Allow me, Laina, to ask this, please.
Yeah, absolutely. I've tried a few different tools. Like I've tried Spellbook. It's a markup tool on Word documents for, well, they said that it's designed for legal documents. And then I'm also subscribed for LexisNexis AI. That's before MiAI rolled out. But I mean, even after, like now, often I put questions into both system and see what result it comes out. LexisNexis, it's good at giving you this, very brief process steps set out. 1, 2, 3, 4, this is what you do, and this is the legislation you look at. MIAI actually give you a much more deep and meaningful reasoning and research as a whole. Like you feel like you're really talking to a barrister. Like, every time I ask MIAI, I feel like, "Oh, this is how Laina would talk to me." Yeah. So it's good. It gives you the confidence to, then extract that to formulate your legal advice. LexisNexis AI, I would use it in things like, okay, should I be looking at this piece of legislation, for example, if this is the issue? But I mean, I can also do that with MIAI. It's very different. Like LexisNexis won't really come up with that much reasoning, and sometimes. I don't know which instant, but I think there were things that it's just not relevant. Like they don't have the answer, but they won't say I don't have the answer. They will keep coming up with things that they think that's the only thing that might be relevant, if that makes sense.
Right.
Because they're using OpenAI, etc., which is trained to always answer.
Uh-huh. And
Yeah.
OpenAI has been optimized to answer.
Yeah, and I'm like, I've already told you this is not what I want. Like, look, do you have something that I want? Like, and it just doesn't, it won't say like, no, I don't. But I've experienced in my AI that, we don't have that at the moment. We don't have the answer for that. So it's very it's confidence. If you don't have that, you don't have that. Sometimes people ask me a question, I don't know. And I guess Spellbook is the negotiation pack that it's comparable with MIAI. So Spellbook, you can select which party you are acting for, and then it will ask you whatever you want to negotiate for, and it will basically mark up that clause for you. But the thing is, it's actually I don't know what law or what legislation it's based on when they're marking up the clause. So I'm like, okay, then what's the difference between just me changing the wording, and this thing marking up? So I didn't end up renewing it. But the MIAI negotiation pack, it's very helpful. It's very easy to read. It just help you understanding the law, and it's almost like a CPD every time when I use it, because there's things that I don't know, and then it's teaching me all the time. I'm like, okay, that's good. That's what I like, because I always think that I'm not better than anyone, and there's always things that I want to learn. So I only want to deal with people who keep telling me that there's something you don't know, if that makes sense.
And talk about continuous education. And like what Anderson previously mentioned in our episode, it gives him the opportunity to take a pause and challenge his own judgment. Did I remember that correctly? I think that's what he said. And also, going back to my previous question, I remember what Laina has once told me, that with an efficient tool, it doesn't only benefit her as an innovator or makes her work faster, but it also helps her manage her time better, allotting more time to things that matter. And I think that's something I hear across industries. When the mental clutter clears, the quality of conversation improves. And so, Laina, do you think tools like MiAI Law are quietly reshaping what modern law firm even looks like, particularly as remote and independent practice like what Hollia has been doing becomes more common these days?
Well, I hope so. I designed it so that all lawyers could feel confident in the advice that they were giving their clients. Because even, we've said this before, even when I'm doing advices pre MiAI Law, there's only so much time you can spend on the advice, and you could never be sure that you had unearthed everything that was possibly relevant, and you can't charge for it all anyway. So there's only so much you can charge your client on an advice, and you often end up spending more time researching than you would have done than you can charge for. So, but now I can ask MiAI Law heaps and heaps and heaps of questions, which I do, coming from every single possible angle, and then tracing through the reasoning and tracing through to the source cases that we've identified, so that now I might end up spending exactly the same amount of time as I would have spent before doing the advice, but this time I'm confident that my research is really thorough.
Okay.
And that I have unearthed everything I need to unearth to answer the advice and to prepare the advice. I think that's the difference. I feel much more comfortable. Like, for example, I've mentioned I wouldn't have worked on that international. Hold on a second. Okay, I wouldn't have taken on some of the international matters that I'm doing now. I wouldn't have taken on some of the other advice work that I've been taking on, because I would have had the time to devote to it to make sure that my advice was thorough and correct. So it's made me a lot calmer.
It mirrors what we're seeing in other professional services too, Lena. It's changing the shape of work and where confidence actually comes from, as you said. And because you work across so many areas of law, Hollia, do you see MiAI Law more as a second brain, a safety net, or something else entirely?
Yeah, can I just echo Lena? I'm the same. Like not only her, like because of this tool,
Mm-hmm.
I've said yes to matters that I would not have said yes, or I would not have said yes unless, previously before this MIAI, I would like just privately give Lena a call and be like, hey Lena, do you think you have time next week? I might have this matter coming in. Like, just to make sure, she has time to answer like any preliminary questions that I have, right?
Uh-huh.
But now I'm just like, okay, yeah, that matter. Let me just do a light search first. I'll see if anything you want me to answer. I'll just, you know, just say something and then I get the matter in and then I do deep search. It's like I have this whole system on how to use it, and it's just so great. I take on matters that I would not be confident to take on otherwise, because I still at 10 years level, I don't have the experience that, someone like Lena has. Now this tool is giving me the confidence level that I would not otherwise been able to. I don't know how do I otherwise get there.
Uh-huh.
I can only wait.
So much experience, it comes back to the fact that no lawyer can hold the entire corpus of Australian law in our head.
The
But we
memory.
have been trained to think, right? We have been trained to reason. We have been trained. So we know as a system the process we have to go to. But, manually, we don't have the time to be bringing ourselves up to speed on new areas of law, whereas we know what we're supposed to do. MiAI Law just speeds up that bit of bringing us up to speed, and then allows us to do all the thinking and strategy work, which has to happen anyway,
Uh-huh. Well, the
always. And
benefits.
MiAI Law is not replacing that, but it's increasing our baseline knowledge faster.
So you sleep better at night, Lena, because no one's bothering you like Anderson or Hollia. Well, you
I,
can.
um,
Go
I do
ahead,
still
Hollia.
talk to her, but I feel like these days, the things I talk about with her is different to back in the days. It's always like law question back in the days. Like these days, I'm like, so what are you doing with your journey? Like, where's the fundraising up to? Like,
Uh-huh.
what are we expanding the law database to? It's just like, how do you keep yourself motivated as a woman with kids? Like, we talk about other stuff personally, and
Uh-huh.
I can get to know her as a person and, and to know myself better too.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, to answer your question, as a second brain or safety net, I actually use MiAI Law like an operation system, as I said, because of me working across so many areas of law. And I'm the only really principal lawyer. People come to me. I don't really go to anyone else. Unlike back in the days, when I work at a firm where I can just walk to different partners' room and bounce off ideas. So yeah, and my AI has become that second brain for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, you know, I'm not saying that, the human brain is useless, but, this operation system is just like, a computer window that you have to open as a lawyer when you
Mm-hmm.
when you operate.
Yeah.
So when you're running your own practice, this kind of support is just so invaluable. And yeah, in many ways, it's my operating brain.
Easily accessible. Calling it an operating system, Halia, is such a great way to describe it, especially when you're running your own practice. That kind of consistent, always there support can be the difference between second guessing and standing confidently behind your device, or behind the advice that you have to give. And now, though Lena has touched on a bit about this before, I'd love to ask both of you, what's one small, unexpected technology has improved your working life that has nothing to do with speed or efficiency? Who's gonna go first?
But
You can go first, Lena or Hollia.
okay, I use OpenAI for coding. I do a lot of coding, obviously, and prompt engineering,
Mhm.
and nobody knows the idiosyncrasies of OpenAI better than OpenAI itself. So when it's not behaving, I ask it why it's doing certain things, and it gives me insight into itself. Its
Mhm.
solutions are not always correct, but then it's a good starting base,
Yeah.
because who else is going to know why the language model is behaving in such a weird way? And
Mhm.
that's why, and it's told me, I say, why are you doing this? And I'll say, well, I've been optimized to always answer questions.
Yeah. That's
And
their
then,
job.
yeah, it's their job. And then I go, well, why are you doing this? Why are you making these leaps of reasoning? And why are you doing all this? And then it goes, because I've been optimized to answer questions. And so it gives me insight into why it's behaving the way it's behaving. And then I understand what prompt engineering I need to do to fix all this, what I call very naughty behavior. It's very
Mhm.
slippery. It's constantly trying to slip through any cracks that you allow it to slip through.
Yeah, being stubborn. How about you, Halia?
I don't think it's actually a small, but it's a big shift. Like at the beginning, I had to spend a lot of time learning about technology, like coding and all that, right? Like I still don't know. I don't understand all of them, right? That's why I dedicate 15 minutes a day, like just to learn about it. And I'm still not up to date, right? And it's not effortless. Like you need to put a bit of effort in, but that's the world now. And if you don't learn, you're falling behind. But once it clicked, it just became essential. And I genuinely cannot work without it now. I think of it the same way as, when calculator first came out. I mean, would you be able to work out 1,291 multiplied by 3,145 in your head? I mean, technically, yes, but would you? Of course not, right? You would just use a calculator. And technology feels like that to me now. It doesn't replace thinking or judgment, but it removes unnecessary mental load. You don't need, why do you need to stress yourself to do that maths
Mm-hmm.
in when you can just use a calculator? Same as legal research. Why do you need to stress yourself out, just to go through like the legal
Yeah.
essential steps that you learn in year one of law school when you can just put the questions in MiAI? So your brain can focus on other parts of the work that actually matters, or things that you found enjoyable
Mm-hmm. And that
being,
calculator analogy is perfect, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, because it shows how mature technology eventually just becomes normal. And your 15 minutes a day is for sure saving hours. I mean, compared to before, it frees up your brain for judgment, for relationships, like what you mentioned earlier. You can call Lena about other things that you think matter most. And of course, creativity, which I guess is where the real value sits. And I guess what really comes through is that technology isn't the headline. Thinking clearly is. Whether you're running a business or juggling multiple responsibilities, the tools that matter most are the ones that reduce mental load and help you show up better, not just faster. So, Laina, Hollia, thank you so much for an honest and I would say grounded conversation. And there's so much here that applies far beyond law. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
If you're a lawyer or firm looking to work with AI responsibly without sacrificing judgment or rigor, check out myai.law. And if you'd like to connect with Hollia or learn more about her work at Lamco, you'll find her on LinkedIn and lamco.au. Thanks everyone for watching or listening to our podcast and for being part of this thoughtful, real conversations about how work is changing. You better watch out for our next episode. This has been your host, Miles. Stay focused, driven, and inspired with XRAISED.